Welcome to Wealthing Talks. I am your host, Alicia Castillo Holley, bringing you real-life conversations from Silicon Valley or somewhere around the world. We will talk about disruptors, angel investments, venture capital, and of course, family offices. Join me along with my children, their families, friends, disruptors, and investors as we explore the fascinating world of creating wealth in a completely different and authentic way. So welcome everybody. This is another episode of the Wealthing podcast. I am so excited to introduce Tracey MacNeal to you. Tracey, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So this is very exciting. Tracey runs one of our portfolio companies, but I want to ask her, how did you get here? How did you get to do this?
Well, I'm an engineer lost in a medical device world, but I'm not the founder of Materna, but I was recruited by the board about 5 years ago, and I had never heard of anything that we were working on. My background is in the commercialization of medical technology, and that's what I've been doing for the last 25 years. And when I met Materna, I was really impressed with the clinical evidence that they generated. But what really got me was the size of the market that I had never had a chance to work as a first mover in a multi-billion-dollar market. It's one of those funny things about women's health. There are many multi-billion-dollar markets hiding in plain sight. So I couldn't leave the opportunity untouched. So I took over in 2019. And I took the job kind of with my engineer mind, thinking, good regulatory, good clinical, even some good early commercial traction, big market, no competition. And but what I found was that it was the most fun job I could imagine. I have really enjoyed building the team. I have attracted the most incredible people, including yourself. And the investors that are interested in our space are terrific people. And it's not an easy job, but it's a lot of fun.
Great. So that's the rosy part. So tell us about the thorns. So what are the lessons that you have learned in this journey that could help somebody else that is starting or is going through some of the challenges that you've been through?
Well, I think one of the main things I learned, and I wish I learned it faster, but that's just life. It took me a while to build a system. It was probably a few years before I really built an operating system for the company in which I really felt like everyone knew what was going on. Everybody understood what decisions they were in charge of, who their stakeholders were, who their customers were. Really, it's a value chain map. We've structured the whole company that if I'm in marketing, then my customer is sales. Right? If I'm in sales, my customer is more obvious, right? But if I'm in finance, who is my customer, right? I'm really seeing ourselves as contributing to each other's work all the time. And couple of things that made possible for me. One was way fewer meetings. I can get what I need, and we got Monday commit meetings, we got Friday wins. There were a few stand-ups in between, but mostly I can find out what I need to know about the entire company in those 3 meetings. And the other thing that's possible is that when things change, because they are always changing, you get news, you get good news, you get bad news, you get weird news, you get uncertainty. And we don't have to go back, I joke sort of, we don't have to go back to the war room every time to figure out who we are and what we're doing. Like, we are who we are. We have clearly articulated how we are creating value for our stakeholders. And what comes, we just weave it into our weekly and monthly and quarterly habits. And I think that a lot of companies feel like they're too small to be bothered with systems like that. And I owe it all really to my chief operating officer. She's brilliant. You met her, Kelly.
Yeah.
She said to me, we were probably about 6 people at the time. And she said, we've got a really great culture here, but if we don't do something, we're going to mess it up. As we bring people in, because we're more like 30 people now.
Mhm.
And if you include our really important consultants, and that doesn't include all of the other layers out, investors and everybody. So there's a lot of people who need information about what's going on. And she said, if we act now, we can probably make a difference. And I think that it was the smartest thing that we did. And I'm deeply grateful to the folks that have helped us build those systems. But I think that's probably it, because there's no single change or curveball that I could have predicted really, per se, right? And I don't know if I could have done any better in hindsight, but the one thing I think I could have done better, if I'd had those systems in place, I think some of the things could have been less struggle.
Well, now you have my complete attention, and I'm going to contact you after that because we're growing rapidly. We make 5 investments this year. We're going to make the 6th one in 2 weeks. Our team is growing rapidly, and that is a challenge, and we need to set up a solid foundation. So I think that I never heard anybody talk about that, and I learned so much in all these podcasts.
Well,
And
isn't that the best thing about being in this space, is all the people we meet and all of the things we learn? It's amazing. Yeah, I'm happy to connect you. I know just who to introduce you to.
all these amazing tools and lessons, and you know we need to learn what we don't know. We don't need to learn what we know. And and this is fantastic. And yeah, I'm so appreciative of that. So creating the culture and the base so you can communicate is just fantastic. I did that in Chile when I did the first seed capital fund, and we were a large team then, and we just knew we were very, very focused. So that it's a good reminder too. Thank you for that. Yeah. So let me go back to uh, ask a question that I think it's really interesting. A lot of people ask about what keeps you awake at night. I don't like that negativity. I want to know what makes you wake up in the morning with excitement, thinking,
Oh,
"Oh my gosh, I can't believe I have another day to live." And what is it that gives that energy?
oh, I know the answer to this.
Okay, good.
So it never occurred to me that I would have the opportunity to be an advocate for women. I mean, being an engineer and a finance person, I was often one of the only women in the room, and was working on all kinds of cool things. I mean, healthcare is great that way. I was always working on cool things, but I had never really imagined myself as someone who could be an advocate for women. And so when I think about what we're doing, not just for improving women's healthcare, that's very motivating. But very specifically, our technology, the one that is coming out of a big clinical trial right now, is designed to help make childbirth safer and easier for new moms. It's used in the hospital during labor and delivery to gently help mom's body relax and prepare for the baby to come through. And it's got all kinds of cool safety features in it. So it's unlike the baby's head, it is listening to mom. It is sensing her pelvic floor. We're the first company in the world to ever record the pelvic floor forces during labor. And it's sitting there, it's listening, it's in complete service to her body. And as her body is relaxing, it's expanding so that she doesn't get injured. Ideally, she won't get injured when the baby comes through. So I can't tip the secret about how our clinical trial is doing, but I am happy. And what's really exciting and has, I think, increased my excitement an order of magnitude this past year is, as we've cracked the code around reimbursement, we think that we will be able to address the payment issues in labor and delivery. We're the first really broadly applicable technology in labor and delivery in decades. And so the idea of being able to get a new technology payment like we routinely get in cardiology and neuro, to be able to bring that to labor and delivery. In the beginning, and Alicia, I know you're totally going to get this. When I joined the company, people said to me, Tracey, no one is ever going to buy this product because labor and delivery is a global fee and hospitals are already losing money. They're not going to have the money to buy your product. And what I learned is it's actually the other way around. is that those codes are so low because no one has innovated in them. And that and the lack of payment is at the core of why there are also issues of racism and sexism. So I don't want to discount those, but the lack of payment is a huge contributor to the maternity crisis in this world and to the maternity deserts that we see in the United States, where fully a third of our country is living in an area without any obstetrical care. Women are giving birth in their cars, in emergency rooms. I mean, it is, and when we look at our maternal outcomes as a country, we're the 55th safest country in the world to have a baby. 54 countries are safer than the United States. And we're dead last among the advanced economies. And when we look at the payment systems and hospitals needing to close their labor and delivery wards, you know, to have the opportunity to potentially make a difference in that story, up every day with a big smile.
You know, that I get goosebumps because we have all been there without knowing, because we were all born to a woman's body.
We were all born through a woman's body.
Yes.
So she had the care she needed or not.
Yes. And one of the things that really struck me when I first heard about Materna Med, well, two things. One is my daughter's a sex coach. Happened to heard your pitch the very first time that a friend of mine who's Muslim called me because his niece had found that she had a problem with her vagina. And they didn't know who to talk to. He knows I invest in the area.
This is the issue. Our first product addresses where the pelvic floor is too tight and sex is painful or impossible. She had that problem.
It's so interesting. She's a young Muslim woman in the US that wants to be prepared for the time when she feels she's ready to have intercourse.
Yeah.
18-year-old young woman. She goes to the doctor and the doctor says, you have a problem, a medical problem that we can't solve. So my friend, knowing that I invest in health tech, called me and he said, do you have any idea on what can be done? And I said, I don't, but I know who knows. And that is my daughter that works with people. She's a sex coach and she works with people who have issues with their bodies. And some of them are actually people who have been in accidents or have been in the defense department, have lost limbs. And so she works with the whole,
That's amazing.
the whole body, not just
So important.
So the first thing I did was I called her up and she said, let me do some investigation. And the next day I'm talking to you. He said, how come we missed this? And I called my friend and I said, these are something that you can do. And thank you for giving my daughter a prototype so she can evaluate that in her past practice and bring it to other people, because a lot of people didn't know about that. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing is, I grew up listening to my mom and her friends about the trauma of having birth or giving birth. And I said, that's never going to happen to me. Right? Not for me. And I have two
You were going
kids.
to have a baby or you weren't going to have trauma?
Yeah, I said, I'm going to adopt. It's just not happening.
Gotcha.
It's a change in perception about the woman and the woman's body. Because it was a matter of pride to talk about how much you suffer, how much the world was unfair to you. The sin, the original sin. I mean, there were so many things that went around that.
The curse of Eve and all of that. Yeah.
And yeah. And then I have my kids. There were 2 cesareans, but then my daughter had her kids and she became a coach on that. And the recognition that it doesn't have to be this way. So that was the other thing that really said, oh, this is fantastic. And it resonates with your mission and the excitement of doing something for women's health, which is the half of the population or more.
Well, and it's really everybody, right? Because the truth is that when women are happier and healthier, everyone's happier and healthier, right? We're caregivers and we're spouses. I mean, our first product, Millie, that you mentioned, that affects this this pelvic floor. It treats this pelvic floor disorder where it's too tight. It's really hard on relationships, really hard. And your daughter knows more than anybody.
Yes,
Our sexual life is, in our society, we don't talk about it very much, but when it's not going well at home, it's really hard.
it is hard, but it's the same thing that if you eat, if you have a food, if you eat something, buy something that makes you unwell, there's a recourse. But we sort of ignore a part of our life. It's just a part of our life. It's not, maybe not the most important, but it's definitely not the least important. And it's just part of our bodies.
Mhm.
And it's so important for everybody and for couples. And one of the things that I shared with you and I shared with Kelly was one of the members of our group who doesn't have a kid. He said to us, I totally buy this. And I would buy this for my wife because the last thing that I want is my wife to be suffering.
Yes.
And he's like, I would, yeah, it was so funny. He said, I will buy the big for the prep, for the birth one. I
Yeah.
buy the big billboards. And I say, don't give her diamonds. Give them the prep.
Give her this product.
Yeah,
Well, he's smart. He's smart because they're really
it was
terrible
amazing.
injuries.
Yeah, because to
Yeah.
your point, and I remember people talk to me and say, well, if you don't invest in fem medicine or fem tech, and I'm like, you don't have to be a woman to invest in this because other people also get it. So I was really excited about that, about having that conversation. And then the last bit is that many of the friends in my generation had kids 10, 20, or 30 years ago. Like my kids are in their late 30s. And now they have pro-lives. And we didn't know we could do something about it because it was nature. But
Well, people
nature,
still don't know. I mean, I think nobody tells women. That's it's interesting you say that because it's one of the things that most upsets women about it is they say, nobody told me. Why didn't anybody tell me this could happen? And I've thought about that a lot. And I think it's really because there is nothing to do about it right now. Until this product gets on the market, all you're going to do is scare people and there's nothing for it. So you just got to hope for the best. And there's so much about that that's in obstetrics right now, where we just have to hope for the best. And I'm so appreciative for the investment that we've gotten. We've to have been able to get over 700 patients of clinical evidence
wow.
in gold standard randomized controlled trials with healthcare economic outcomes. I mean, this is something that no one has been able to do in obstetrics for decades. And I think, I don't mind being the first, but I definitely don't want to be the last, right? I want to be able to,
The
part
only
of what
one.
we're trying to do is show people that this is childbirth is the #1 reason for hospitalization worldwide. There are a lot of problems. You should check it out, you know?
I didn't know that, but I'm appreciative that my mom gave birth to me. And I think
Right?
everybody should. So what is the future? What is the future for you? What is the future for Materna?
Oh, we're super excited. So we're finishing up our second big RCT this quarter, and we're filing with the FDA this summer. And so then we'll see that, like, how easy is the FDA going to be with us on this, right? With 700 patients of data, I've seen brain implants get clearance with 100, So I'm hopeful, but in the society we're living in right now, it's got to just sort of plan for different scenarios. But I suspect this product will be on the market in the next year or two. And meanwhile, we're working with hospitals to deepen our understanding of the potential healthcare economic outcomes. And that is very fun work to do. I know it's hard to believe that talking to hospitals is fun, but when you're showing up with something that helps them, it's a different kind of conversation than when you're trying to sell them something.
So what I think that it's also interesting is that you're doing something that would help women in the long term.
Mhm.
And the US has a very unique healthcare. As a friend of mine who's a doctor told me actually last night, there's no health and there's no care in the healthcare in the US. And I'm like, well, but there's a system. But in other countries where you have a single payer, where people really care about the long-term value, uh, this is something that I believe is going to be critical for for birth delivery or birth for women who are the ones that give birth. Have you thought about expanding to other countries? What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, we would love to. And we expect to at a minimum when we are acquired. It's just really expensive. And so we're starting in the US. The US is the biggest market. Uh, it's the market everyone's trying to get into right around the world. But we have intellectual property protected in all of the advanced economies, all the major economies, and we know that this is going to be important to people all over the world. It is a culturally relevant product. It's not just like, some vascular access thing that the patient doesn't know anything about. It's something that's part of a couple's birth plan. And that is I think we will need to be thoughtful about how we bring it to other cultures. Like having a baby in Brazil is not the same as having a baby in Japan,
Yeah, or in Australia. No,
or in
I have
Australia or in the United States, right?
yeah, I have two grandkids that were born in Australia, and I've been in all the births of my grandkids, so there's completely different. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's
wonderful.
it's been wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's
We
the
coward
world
too.
history.
We need coward too. So it's like, oh, I want to be here. Now, let's get a little bit more personal.
Sure.
What is life for Tracey after Materna?
Oh, well, I think there's immediately after Materna, and then there's shortly after Materna, and then there's long term. I think hopefully we are acquired by someone who will actually, I don't have a big attachment to this, but typically there's some sort of period during which the management team is helpful to the acquirer. So there's that, right? And helping the acquirer get set up for success to do that international expansion. But that's usually short. I think healthy periods are like 6 to 12 months. And then I would love to take a short sabbatical, just a few months, to play more music. I play guitar and sing, and just do more artwork and hang out with my kids. And my kids right now are 19 to 23, and they're all over the place and having a lot of fun. But so I got to go see them if I want to see them. All I say that my son, my 19-year-old's coming over. He's in the Marines and coming over for the weekend. Um,
Nice.
it's going to be great. But I would absolutely do this again. The truth of the matter is it's a lot of fun to be a CEO. And for me, it's all about the purpose, right?
Mhm.
It's got to be a big market. It's got to be a big, meaningful something. And I think there are a lot of those. And so I'm not very worried about finding something to do after Materna. Um, and we'll see. I mean, what I've known, other friends that I have that have gone through this process, once you exit a company, there's a lot of people want you for stuff. But I just think that I'm just a very purpose-driven person, and so I look forward to continuing to try to leave the world better than I found it. Have some fun along the way.
So then that leads to my next question, which is going to be the last question that I always ask. And it's about your essence. So I don't know if you know this, but when I was 13, I fell off a horse and I was in coma for days, and I woke up. And then ever since I was very young, I started looking into my essence. Who am I when I'm no longer here? Who am I if I'm not here in time and space? What is my essence? What is different religions, different people call it different things. I call it the essence. So have you thought about it? Who is Tracey when Tracey is no longer here with us?
Oh, I love this question. I think my sole purpose is some mixture of love through creativity, creativity through love. I think we're here to love. I think we're here to heal and learn and be on this leading edge of existence here on Earth that just very much appears to be about free will and love. And so I can't think of a cooler thing to be working on than Materna at the moment. It feels very right for me in my expression, but I'm with you. I don't think that this is who I am. I think I'm, I get to be, my daughter calls it the meat sack. Like, this is the meat sack.
I call it the envelope. I have to take care of the envelope.
That you call it the envelope. Is that what you said?
I call it the envelope. Yeah, I have to take care of
Yeah,
it because
exactly.
things spill. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a fun envelope. I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I think it's all about love and creativity.
Yeah. Tracey, thank you so much for being with us. I really enjoyed this. For our audience, thank you so much for being with us. Do you have any last words? Where people find Materna Med products? We're going to put it in the brief. But if you want to tell people how to contact you or what is the
Yeah,
best?
thank you. Well, Alicia, thank you so much. You're a light in the world, not just for me and Materna, but for all of the people that you touch. Everybody I know who knows you says the same thing. So thank you. I'm easy to find online. If you remember how to spell my name, TracyMacNeal. I'm easy to find online. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Our website is maternamedical.com, and from that you can get to our other products and see what we're up to in the world. Thank you so much.
So I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Tracey MacNeal. I thought a lot about that investment, but I also thought a lot about women's health. I've been bombarded with that because I'm an investor and I'm a woman. And women's health is not a niche. Half of the population are women, but more importantly, we do talk about Viagra, but we don't talk about the impact, which is having baby if you don't have protection, right? Protection. And all of us, 100% of us, have been born to a woman. So I think we need to consider that. Most women are silent about their medical issues. There's not a lot about training, but as Tracey said, there's not a lot about solutions because there's not a concept about solving a problem was not there. So that is what Materna Med is doing. And they're doing several other things. I hope you enjoyed this conversation and I look forward to seeing you in our next podcast. This is Alicia Castillo Holley, yours in Wealthing.
Thanks for tuning in to our Wealthing Talks. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. To stay connected, visit us at wealthing.com. This is Alicia Castillo Holley, your host, and until next time, yours in Wealthing.